The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. What a busy week this has been. A little bit of housekeeping, people. As people may be aware, in less than 2 weeks, well, actually a little more than 2 weeks, the People's Debate will occur. Morton Middle School, 6 p.m., August 30th. That's a Wednesday night. Currently, we have all candidates except for the mayor confirmed for attendance. It will be very interesting to see if the mayor does attend. I'm sure he will. But again, he hasn't confirmed as of yet. But we want your questions because remember, all the questions asked of the candidates, it comes directly from the people. So please send your questions to debate@scSTonline.com. That's debate@scSTonline.com. So, the first of our news stories before we get into the meat and potatoes, Massachusetts unemployment no longer lower than the U.S. rate. Imagine that.
Yeah. Gee, nice to know the rest of the state's catching up with Fall River, huh?
For the first time in nearly a decade, Massachusetts residents are no more likely to be employed than the peers across the country. Not in Fall River, I don't think anybody wants to be employed. The state's unemployment rate stayed at 4.3% last month, while the U.S. rate dropped slightly to 4.3%. The state rate last equaled the national rate in April of 2008. So we've been doing, I guess, pretty good.
Well, I mean, you know, you would assume we're doing pretty good because we have a lot of, you know, high-tech firms. We have a lot of, you know, colleges and educational facilities, and you know that's one of the problems that Fall River has, that the new to United States economy basically is something that requires additional training, whether it's apprenticeship training or skill level training. Those jobs, you know, I think we mentioned it before. There's 6 million jobs that are going unfilled throughout the United States, all because they don't have the level of training. We've seen it with the coal miners. They're beginning to retrain some of them in computer skills, and they're getting jobs. And they actually did a national, that was on a national news. So, you know, it would stand to reason that a state like Massachusetts would draw the firms that can employ people with a higher level of skill because, let's face it, we've got a heck of a lot of schools in this Commonwealth.
Yeah, I agree totally, and you know, hopefully we see more jobs. The Commonwealth lost 200 jobs last month, so it's going to be interesting to see. Now we get on to 4.5 hours, 5 hours of mind-numbing,
mind-boggling too.
Yeah, mind-numbing, mind-boggling issues about the licenses, liquor licenses. And yesterday, Spindle City Straight Talk and South Coast Media printed for all to read the emails.
Yes.
Where Kathy Ann Viveris said during the city council meeting that the administration had no part of this. How many times did we hear that? And how many times did we hear that she took offense at the accusations that were being made by the city council? Well, the emails we have go back to July 31st. And this is from Kathy Ann Viveris to Steve Cohen of CEA Group. Hi, Steve. We are working on that. Please feel free to send the draft language for Corporation Council to review, and we can drop the numbers in just prior to submission. The mayor is interested in requesting more licenses in addition to your need. Thanks, Kathy. Now remember, we have to interpret everything. How would you interpret that, Chip?
Well, it's pretty, you know, I mean, it's pretty obvious because we have obviously more than one email. We have an entire trail of emails.
Exactly.
I have one from actually July 28th, which preceded the one from July 30th, finalizing, you know, from Mr. Cohen. It's finalizing the home rule petition, and obviously he sent this to Kathy, which then precipitated kind of thing. It's almost like fundamentally the same thing, but it's obvious that there was a ongoing dialogue about this, and the city was involved, because if we continue on, and we've got them in order, so let's
August 4th, to
August
Kathy Ann
4th.
Viveris, RE Package Store Home Rule Petition. Hi, Kathy. I'm a little anxious about moving this home rule petition along as quickly as possible. I'm getting feedback that it might take quite some time to get it through the legislature, and that we should start the process rolling as soon as possible. In retrospect, we should have started it earlier. What do you think is a reasonable schedule to get the petition before the City Council? I assume we have to start by deciding how many additional licenses we may need for others in the city. So let's put together our game plan, and let's discuss how best to make it happen. Please get back to me with your thoughts. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you read that, they had every intention of the mayor putting this before the council at this point in time.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how you can interpret that any other way. They're talking about, you know, what do you think's a reasonable schedule to get the petition before the council? So obviously, he didn't get an email back from Kathy Ann that said, the mayor has no intention of doing this. I don't know why you're bothering me. Leave me alone.
Right.
But it doesn't.
And on August 9th, it said, Kathy called me this morning. This was to Rob Mellion. This one's to Rob Mellion, the other person who represents businesses at Fall River who wanted to throw small business under the bus, and he always goes around saying shop local. Kathy called me this morning, said that there is a local opposition to the liquor licenses. The only specific I was able to get was, and it's the name of a liquor license holder, who is a special case and an empty retail building. Kathy said it would not pass the city council if it went this week, and she wanted to put it off probably until after the election.
You want to read down again? Probably until
So
until
now
after this
the
has
election.
become a political thing.
Correct.
But we'll do it after the election, but we don't want to ruffle the feathers of the local businesses before the election.
Exactly.
So let's
probably until after the election if she had her way. This is pretty damaging to us. We really need to get this liquor store tenant in. Kathy Ann Viveris to Mr. Cohen. Hi, Steve. The plan is to send it to the City Council by deadline this Thursday, August 10th. It will be on their meeting agenda for Tuesday, August 15th, which it was. I will request that it be acted upon that night so it can go to the state as soon as possible. I have compiled the list of licenses issued and available. I'll be speaking with the mayor as to the number we will request. I'll let you know. Thanks for following up, Kathy.
Wow. Wow.
All those emails are pretty damaging.
They're talking about presenting it, and she's going to talk to the mayor about presenting it, right?
Right.
But they said, well, that's not, you know, they weren't involved at all. The mayor is now opposed, but I think the mayor did actually say that after he saw the public outcry from present vendors, but I'm not sure if that even computes what we're reading here, because the fact is they were aware of it in one of these emails early in the stages. And
the thing is, they knew that this would create bad blood between the mayor and local small business. Mm-hmm. And obviously many members of the community, because they came out in droves, 4.5 hours worth of testimony. And the city council kept waiving the rules on the 3 minutes, kept waiving the rules over and over and over again. And then Messiah Mellion came out and said, we have to give this license to these people. And it wasn't one license, it was two. Portugalia also gets one. These are special cases where they're being written for special people who are politically connected. And when you start looking at the licenses, and Chip, I believe you have that list of license holders already.
Yes, I do.
And some of the people who are looking at who hold licenses currently, how many are available? There are no full liquor licenses currently available. No full package store licenses currently available. There are one license available for beer and wine at a restaurant, and there are 2 people waiting for that one. And one of them has been waiting since they opened the door, and for some reason, the licensing board is dragging its feet on it. But when David Hebert applied for one, for a full liquor license for his club, they rapidly springboarded that in violation of the law because nothing was in place. Nothing.
And we have some people on this waiting list that have been waiting
Since 98.
since 98 and early in 98.
Right.
February and March of 98. And we actually have one on the all-alcohol package store that's back. We have 2 from 94.
Right.
So, I mean, look, it's not fair to these people either.
You're talking-
I see their point, but you know it disturbs me. Then the mayor in another article that was printed in the Herald News about the opposition. He said that there was no conspiracy. He changed his mind about filing home rule petition after speaking with business owners, city councilors, Steve Camara and Joseph Camara, as well as Senator Mike Rodrigues. I weighed the pros and cons, and there was never a commitment made. Really? There was never a commitment made?
That's not what I'm reading.
It's not what I'm reading. I'm reading that Kathy Ann was going to put it in front of the council. So
And
look,
she did.
Look, I'm not going to fault him for changing his mind. Probably everybody wanted a rush to do businesses a favor, as he did, but then he realized it's an election season, and he's going to antagonize more local businesses than he would do. So, okay, he changed his mind, which is okay. Just as the city councilors who proposed this may now change their mind when they see the outrage. But the fact is, don't say there was never a commitment made. Your surrogate, your alter ego, said it in an email. So, if you're saying there was never a commitment, but we have it in writing that you were in fact prepared to present that to the city council and put it on the agenda. So something is amiss or something is rotten in the state of Denmark, as the Bard once said. So look, I have a problem. I don't have a problem with it. As far as, that's your decision. You can make it, you can change it. Okay, you tested the water. You said, well, my personal opinion on the issue is that I don't like home rule petitions. I never did like home rule petitions because almost every time they're used for political purposes to get people favors. There have been people who they're up. Yeah, well, we remember the home rule petition that we talked about, just a few weeks ago?
You mean the Braintree police chief?
The Braintree police chief who's allowed to get a full retirement and then still work time for a full salary, where he's making over $250,000 now, and actually completely blow up the retirement system and do everything in exact opposite of what the retirement law says.
You mean kind of what the city council did on Tuesday?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's true. But I mean, when I look at this waiting list and I see people who went through the process legally and are waiting their turn, and 1998, 1994, I mean, this is absurd. You're going to get these people to jump ahead of the line? Well, guess what? I don't think it's right. I don't think home rule petitions are right. I've never seen them used for anything constructive. We saw the fire chief taken out of civil service, and then they had to put him back when they found out, what happens when you allow politicians to appoint people. We saw what happened with Mr. Coogan, and now we see again what's happening. As you said, politicians, like lawyers, are You know, when they say, how do you know they're lying? Their lips are moving.
That's it.
Because we know that they went before the council when they talked about Group 4, and they were talking about how the money was irrelevant, yet the new infusion of money we're getting is going to be used for the retirement, and it was never. Everybody had amnesia, including the entire city council. They can't remember that a year and a half ago, Mary Sahadi called everybody in the retirement system a liability. She bemoaned the fact that the retirement system was killing the city of Fall River. We now have a projection to fully fund it by 2035. That's only if the city gets up the money. And their, you know, their assertion that it somehow is not a money issue is absurd. The enterprise fund is city money. Who owns it? Nobody?
If nobody owns it, I'll claim it.
When they pay, well, they pay for their ambulance service. Who do they pay? They don't pay a private contractor or a vendor. They're billed by the city of Fall River. So why couldn't we use that money to buy equipment and stuff? And if you look at that number they banted around, it was 195,000, around 200,000. And if you look at that over 30 years, let alone 35, it's about $6 million added to the unfunded liability. If they want to assume it, fine, but don't complain. See, that's my thing. I don't care. And I said on the show before, I don't care if you put everybody in Group 4. You want to say that building inspectors and plumbing inspectors have to go into 3 decades, so that's the criteria for Group 4? Put everybody in. I'll be taking a dirt nap before this system croaks, but it will eventually croak when nobody has any consideration on the financial burden you put on the system. And the reality is that fiduciary responsibility and impartiality are mandated by a city. And if you want to do it, fine. But don't have the person that now is saying it's not a money issue a year before. And I went before the council, by the way, and called her out about referring to people who worked 30 years and 40 years to get their pension and calling them liabilities. And when the person who called them liabilities, she apologized, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Well, you said it. But I guess the fact that she's going to work 5 years, or try to work 5 years full time, and get a pension like she worked 40 years, she's not a liability on the system. And now, because it's politically expedient, it's to hell with the pensions. It's no longer a problem right now because we want to give people a raise. Home rule petitions suck. 99% of the time, a home rule petition is to get some politically connected person or business preferential treatment. You want a pension? Work 32 years, full time. You want something? Earn it. And the people that abuse it the most are the people who didn't spend the time in. Go work 30 years in City Hall. Go work 30 years picking up trash. Come to work as a police officer or firefighter for 32 years or 40 years. You've earned your pension. Nobody can convince me that that pension wasn't earned. But then when I see politicians like Kathy Ann using her part-time city council, now she's a full-time employee, she's got enough time, she's going to get a pension like she worked full-time for 30 or 40 years, like most of the people in that pension plan have worked. And then we see what happened to the Braintree police chief. Home rule petition allows him to get his 80% of his salary and then go back to work for 100% without the laws that apply to everybody else that restricts their earnings. That's what home rule petitions normally do. It's crap. So I don't agree with the premise anyway, but to get back to the thing, that when they're saying that they, there was never any commitment, I totally disagree.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. That's the way it is. And you spoke about new revenue.
New revenue, yeah.
New revenue. The mayor wants to put up billboards. And he actually identified the locations of these billboards. And they're acting like these are going to happen overnight. I mean, overnight. So the 8 locations that were identified are, they looked at 140 sites. The city's, they're saying this is a novel approach. I agree, it is. And of course, the mayor uses PowerPoint. One identified site would be across from Government Center at Captain Gramada Plaza. You know where the flags fly? Well, I guess we're going to take the flags down and put up a big billboard, digital billboard, flashing down onto the highway.
To distract drivers even more.
Exactly. We're also going to put one behind the incinerator building. It's going to be right there, flashing digital lights onto the highway. One's going to be on the highway at Exit 5 on city-owned land. Another location's near Battleship Cove at the CSX Railroad Yard. 2 more locations are located off of Route 24 are near city property, close to Walmart, and down the road at a city sewer location. Also along a stretch of Route 24, a digital billboard could be erected near the Fall River Water Filtration Facility at a spot behind the Department of Community Maintenance facility. That's the incinerator building. An 8th location, also close to Government Center, sits on private property with a revenue share between the city and the owner. Now, the thing is that, number one, the city council has to approve it. Then it gets sent to the state. And the state is very hesitant to approve these billboards. So much so that several years ago when this happened, they shot it down. This isn't the first time this idea has come up. It won't be the last, I'm sure. And the mayor is saying approximately $10 to $15 million up front and an approximate annual revenue stream of $650,000 to the city for the next 20 years. You know, these are political promises, I can tell you now. I received a phone call from 2 individuals who are experts in the city, who are experts in advertising. And they said the biggest hurdle they're going to have to overcome is that of the state. And they're not going to push this through overnight. And for them to think that they're going to get $10 to $15 million and be guaranteed $650,000 with advertising in Fall River, it's another pipe dream.
Well, it's CJ, it's election time. So what does he say? He's already got the money spent. This is like the checks in the mail deal. And what is he going to spend it on?
More police officers.
Put that in, more police officers, new firefighters, and to exceed net school spending. Wow. Everything that we always talk about, every campaign, public safety, but then they'll threaten to cut it when they don't have enough money.
Right.
So this is the problem. But, the reality is, my question is, we want to put more police, more fire, exceed net school spending, which is fine, okay. But the fact is, at whose expense? Why didn't we control all those stipends and pay raises and $30,000 pay raises during this budget cycle and add a few new police officers and a few new firefighters, and maybe control your spending on a school side and earmark that money to schools in the proper places? No, this is again campaign rhetoric. It's like, okay, when's it coming? And by the way, this was released now. You know how long they've been working on this thing?
A year.
A year. A year ago. Did we hear about this a year ago? Do you think it's coincidental that it's coming out less than a month before the primary?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And as you said, this is something that, look, this is not this is not just a private developer that you say, okay, make a deal, here's the contract, give me the check. The state has to okay this, and we all know how quickly the state moves.
That's right.
And we're not sure if it's going to be approved
Anyway, this is not a guarantee.
And it's going to take a while, you know. And I'm sure that our state representative Alan Sylvia, who then said he was going to oppose the home rule petition on the
liquor license,
will now say, "Oh, I'm going to push this one right through." Well, you know, I mean, if
after all, he was over at the Belmont Cafe recruiting volunteers for the mayor's political campaign.
That's true. And the thing is, you know, maybe Alan hasn't been up in Boston long enough, and this may not get out of the city, but anything that goes up with the city, with a community's approval, is never shot down in 99.9% of the cases, because every other state rep will say, if that's what your city wants, you'll do the same thing for me. When I'm taking care of somebody in your city, you've got to vote to take care of somebody in my city or town when it comes up to me. And Alan shooting down a whole rule petition in his own community, that will probably be the end of his career in Boston.
I agree. Well, you know, the mayor serves on the Seaport Economic Development Board, whatever they may call it, and he gave $1 million to Swansea to revitalize their waterfront. How come he didn't give Fall River $1 million to revitalize ours? Chris Carrero's all excited about it. Well, you know, that's why Chris Carrero's been so far up the mayor's backside. It's unbelievable. Again, this is politics at its best. Yes. Kiss my derriere and I'll give you what you want. That was a unanimous vote. And I don't want to hear, well, you know, the mayor only had one vote. I don't care. They work together, like you just said about Alan Sylvia, okay? You're going up there. Well, look, I'm going to give this guy, we're going to give this guy this $1 million, and you're going to want $2 million for your waterfront. So you know what? You vote for mine, I'll vote for yours. That's how they do it. They don't look at the validity or the value of it. They just look at what are you going to get for my people.
Yeah, and my question, getting back to Alan Sylvia, would be if that home rule petition would have come down from the mayor as they were planning, my money was that instead of saying that he would block it, he would say he was going to hand carry it up there.
Right. But because of the opposition...
Because his political alliances are very clear.
Right. And because of the opposition in his district, because that's where this license was going. Yeah. One was going there, the other was going in Carol Fiola's district. Okay? And that's why Carol Fiola wanted to push this up in Boston. So can you see the battling state reps from Fall River? One saying yes, one saying no? Because Portugalia was going to get one. And then he wanted to get more liquor licenses for restaurants and, you know, everything else under the sun. I'm not even going to get back there. I mean, the Seaport Council gave $1 million to Swansea. I want to see the mayor get us $2 million now. Okay.
Oh, well, you be kidding? Look at the difference in size between Swansea and Fall River.
Yeah, maybe we
got to get it. We got to get at least $10 million.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. So, the police are trying out a new database. We only got a few minutes left, so actually less than a minute coming up. The police are trying out a new database for documenting opioid overdoses. Police in Massachusetts are testing a new database for documenting opioid overdoses they hope will help departments share information in real time and get people into treatment. In other words, we're going to take our police officers off the streets and make them social workers.
Yeah, they're going to collect data for social work and for that. And, you know, sorry, police officers in this community have way too much to do already.
Exactly.
And this is not their job. You know, as an old TV program used to say, it's not my job, man.
Not my job, man.
Not my job, man. And you know, they have enough work. And they are not social workers. They are police officers, and they're here to deal with police issues. And this is, again, just total disregard for the taxpayers' money. And again, if you can't get angry now,
you never will.
Remember one thing, it's election season. Believe nothing.
Believe nothing, test it all. Hey, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.